How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the dystopia. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the dystopia. This is the final time. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in dystopia. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in dystopia. This is the final
Und weil der Mensch ein Mensch ist, drum braucht er was zum Essen, bitte sehr. Es macht ihn ein Geschwätz nicht satt, das schafft kein Essen her. Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, wo dein Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeit einweist und weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist. Und weil der Mensch ein Mensch ist, drum hat der Stiefel im Gesicht nicht gern. Er will unter sich keinen Sklaven sehen und über sich keinen Herrn. Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, und ein Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeit einreist und weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist. Und weil der Prolet ein Prolet ist, drum wird ihn kein anderer befreien. Es kann die Befreiung der Arbeiter nur das Werk der Arbeiter sein. Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, und ein Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeiter einreist und weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist.
Здравствуйте, comrades. Welcome to Socialism Saturday. Socialism Saturday is when we watch the real far left, the farthest of the far left. None of this bullshit around Democrats or liberals or progressives. You know, we did a socialism live stream earlier today in which they were shitting on liberals the entire stream. And then I go on Twitter and I end up accidentally interacting with a lot of conservatives who don't know what's going on. And they're like, all liberals are communists. And then I watch the actual communists, the real self-professed communists, and they go, all liberals are terrible. And it's just like, bro. People who watched my stream yesterday know that I had this experience yesterday on Twitter where I accidentally, well, I didn't, it wasn't an accidental comment, but like I commented on the post of one of those conservative clickbait artists, Matt Van Moron something. I don't even know what his real name is, but he has over 200,000 followers on Twitter. And he posted this video where he basically took leftists, I don't even know if they, like, probably mostly do-gooder progressives who were at one of those protests on May Day, and he posted it on Twitter and he said, look, they don't even know why they're protesting. And then you actually listen to the video and they're able to articulate exactly why they're protesting. They said Trump is hurting people. They're putting people over profits over people. We're organizing for the next. Like, the leftists literally told the conservative clickbait artist, we're organizing because we think Trump hurts people. We think Trump puts profits over people, and we're organizing for the next election. That was literally what they said in the video. And the conservative bullshit artist is like, they don't even know why they're protesting. And then I go into the comments of that video, and you can find this on my Twitter. And I said, bro, I'm going to help you out. They're protesting because they think Trump hurts people, because they think he's putting profits over people, and they're organizing for the next election. Like, that's literally what they said in the video. And then I got all these comments from all these moronic conservatives going, you know, you're stupid. You're a liberal. You suck. You have stupid hair. You're fat. Why would anyone listen to you? It's just like, shut up, man. Like, shut up. Literally, and the reason I was thinking about this is literally while the intro to the stream was playing, I had one of those conservative retards respond to me going, like, tagging I find retards. So the conservatives who don't understand anything about what they see in a video with like a third grade reading comprehension level, this is not even hard. This is reading comprehension they should have developed in elementary school. I guess we can blame the schools for that. But like, these people don't understand what they're seeing in a video. I come in and I say, here's what you're seeing in the video. And they go, you're retarded. That's not what it is. They don't even know what they're talking about. It's like, oh my God. I know it's a bit of an odd introduction to Socialism Saturday, but it's because we already had a socialism stream earlier in the day. And so I'm a little, maybe it's because I just woke up from the nap. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Anyway. So yes, I mean, it's just like conservatives have basically, they here's the thing. It's like, this is the benefit and listen, I know I have conservatives watching on my channel. And so I'm not trying to shit on all conservatives. If you're here and you're on my channel and you're enjoying my content, you're not who I'm talking about. But I also know that smart conservatives who watch my channel know exactly who I'm talking about. They know exactly the problem with their own side. And it's like, it's so like, when you start looking at these people just as parts of different tribalist groups, and you understand that like they don't talk, like they don't understand each other at all. All the different tribalist groups, their number one priority is to be a tribalist. Your friend Oliver sent messages to me in Telegram. Okay, well, let me look that up real quick and see if that actually happened. Oh, hang on. Oh, so you're some sort of liberal cuck, huh? So this Oliver character says, hi, Karlyn, I recently discovered your channel and I really like your content. I found the video of you mocking the liberal bond. Okay, never mind. I misunderstood. Are you pretend in a day make interview with... So you want me to take someone seriously, Leonardo, that DMs me? Are you pretend in a day make a interview with Nick Fuentes? Like, is that real English, bro? Are you pretend in a day make interview with Nick Fuentes? Maybe he doesn't speak English as his first language. Okay, yeah, message received. You guys, if you want actually something from me, you got to send me a better message than that. Anyway, listen, you got your answer live on the internet. How often does that happen? All right. What are we doing today? Where even am I? Why did I just take a nap prior to Socialism Saturday? All right, I'm here because I love you guys. That's you know, I just want credit for the fact that I got up from a nap to come do Socialism Saturday with you guys. And that's just the way it goes. All right, so what are we doing? So we did Socialism Live earlier today. Of course, for those who missed it, this is the start of Red May. Red May, of course, is the month in which the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists basically stream all their content to us. And so we're going to be doing a lot of extra socialism streams in May, and it's just the way it goes because we have more socialist content in May. And so we did our harder stream earlier today. For those who attended the Socialism Live and the return of Philip, and they're already threatening me. By the way, if you guys didn't see the stream earlier, Red May is already pissed off that I'm streaming them again. Red May told everyone in their audience, they were like, she has agents in our chat. I swear to God. I swear to God. And so Philip is unhappy, but I bring this up because Red May is usually very wonky. It's very academic. And it was extremely academic today, although we did see professors from like publicly funded universities calling for the revolution. Like sometimes when socialists get very academic, they accidentally do things that really don't look good. Like, for example, today on the earlier stream, we saw, oh, you're Brazilians. Okay. You're excused for not speaking English then. Okay, thank you for the messages. So what we saw earlier today was a professor, I think at San Francisco State University, calling for literal revolution in the United States and talk like what's going to be required to do revolution. This is a professor at a publicly funded university in San Francisco. Of course, it would be San Francisco, right? And so those are the types of things you see on the really wonky streams, but you have to like sit through the really tough stuff in order to get that content. And so we did get that content, and it was pretty interesting if you saw it. But the point I'm making is this: we're going to have a lighter Socialism Saturday today. There's only so much socialism content I can sit through, and I've been sitting through a lot of it. And so we're going to do a little bit of a lighter Socialism Saturday today, and we are going to watch a documentary about Emma Goldman. Now, Emma Goldman was a communist. Emma Goldman is, so far as I don't know that much about Emma Goldman, other than Emma Goldman was a communist. And Emma Goldman, it is my understanding that Emma Goldman is basically like one of the only women involved in really proliferating communism. Because can we all agree, communism was proliferated by men, Jewish men mostly. But like communism, like men like to try to blame women for everything nowadays. Well, I dispute. I don't accept that. You want to know why? Because communism was created and perpetuated by men. Almost all the major figures in communist history are men. All right? And so I just don't think it's fair to blame women for everything. But Emma Goldman is definitely a communist who definitely was a woman, who definitely did perpetuate a lot of this stuff. So I can acknowledge that there was one woman, but I will point out that, that woman is, of course, Jewish. And I don't say this as any sort of pejorative, honestly. I just think we should be able to call a spade a spade. I don't really care personally if people are Jewish. I love bagels just as much as the next person. There's no anti-Semitism allowed on my channel. I believe the Holocaust happened exactly like we were taught in schools. Obviously, no less than 10 million Jews died in the Holocaust. And I say 10 million just so people know I'm serious, because if you only say 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust, people question and they might not take you seriously. So I'm going to say no less than 10 million Jews died in the Holocaust. Everything we learned in school was true. Hitler was the worst person ever in the history of the world. Hitler is obviously burning in hell right now. All that stuff. We love Jews. But I just think that we should be pointing out things that are like calling a spade, and we should be able to state facts. And the facts is that Karl Marx was Jewish, Lenin was Jewish, Trotsky was Jewish. Most of the intellectual men involved in the Frankfurt School were Jewish. And the only reason I bring this up is because when I was doing research to find out to find something to watch about Emma Goldman, I happened to come across this video from the American Jewish Historical Society all about Emma Goldman, because Emma Goldman was, in fact, of course, Jewish. Okay. And I think that we should be able to state facts on this channel. There were obviously a lot of I would never suggest that everyone involved in communism is Jewish, because that's just not true. There are a lot of non-Jewish communists. We watch them all the time. I am very quick to tell all the dissident right-wingers on Twitter every time they say communism is Jewish, they're all Jews. I'm like, no, that's just not true. There are many, I assure you, there are many non-Jews involved in communism. But I just point this out because it's a fact, and I really think that we should be able to state facts without getting upset about it, because a fact is a fact and the truth is the truth. And facts don't care about your feelings, except if you're Ben Shapiro and then his feelings about Israel are all that matters. Okay, whatever. I just wanted to be able to state that I found this video on the American Jewish Historical Society about Emma Goldman. I also think it's really interesting. Like, so one of the things I noticed when I was looking for stuff to watch about Emma Goldman is like, no one is calling Emma Goldman a communist. And this actually really bothers me. Like, every single thing I saw about Emma Goldman was anarchist. Now, of course, like, there are different brands of anarchism. Like, I, in my heart of hearts, am an anarcho-capitalist where I don't want the government to exist, but I really like private property and I want to be able to defend it with guns and things and maybe a cannon or like a wall or things like that. But like, there are also more left-leaning anarchists. And what do we call left-leaning anarchists? Chat. Like, can we actually put a name to left-leaning anarchists? Because I never say I'm an anarchist. I say I'm an anarcho-capitalist. Okay? That is the proper phrase for what I am. There is also a phrase for anarchists that don't believe in private property. Does anyone want to guess what that phrase is? Anarchists that don't believe in private property? Anarchists that are more, shall we say, I am extremely far right. But Emma Goldman is not far right. Emma Goldman may be an anarchist, but Emma Goldman and I are not the same. What do we call anarchists that don't believe in private property? We call them communists. They're communists. They're fucking communists. And one of the things that was so like annoying to me was when I was searching for videos about Emma Goldman. So I'm just going to take you up to my search on Twitter. So lots of anarchist. Okay, fine. Emma Goldman is there. And then we get to Tom Woods. And I'm just going to complain for a second. Because here's the thing. Over the years, so many people told me to talk to Tom Woods. And I never wanted to. I was never particularly impressed with Tom Woods, if I'm being very, very honest about it. I think that Tom Woods is completely intellectually dishonest. Literally every single interaction I've ever had with Tom Woods, he has been completely and totally intellectually dishonest. And that was always very disappointing to me because I was around people that are like, Tom Woods is the best. I'm like, why? Because I have literally never personally had an interaction with this man that was positive. I've never had an interaction with this man in which he was not completely intellectually dishonest. And I've just given up because like the last interaction I had with Tom Woods was he said, you're a horrible person because you don't want to free Ross because I didn't want to vote for Trump. And then like 2 weeks later, once Tom Woods figured out that Trump was actually going to try to go to war with Iran on behalf of Israel, he like, I basically threw it in his face because he like insulted me and sent his fucking audience after me saying, you don't even want to free Ross, which was the most bullshit libertarian thing that happened last year. I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but I'm just go with me for a second. And so then once Tom Woods figured out that Donald Trump was in fact not anti-war, he started complaining about it. I was like, oh really, Tom? Who could have known that? You just must not have wanted to free Ross enough that now you voted for someone that literally wants to go to war with Iran on behalf of Israel. Like maybe you should have listened to us instead of actually, insulting us and stuff like that. And Tom was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, you are such a fucking bullshit artist. It's not even funny. Anyway, I bring this up just because when I was doing research for this Emma Goldman thing, I found like this video came up, Michael Malice on Tom Woods' show talking about Emma Goldman. And what did they say? Emma Goldman is a left-wing anarchist. So even the fucking libertarians can't say Emma Goldman was a communist. And I know that the people that Tom Woods hangs around, like, they don't like the left. So why are we covering for them? Why can't we just say Emma Goldman was a communist, Tom? No, we're not going to use this left-wing anarchist bullshit just because you're talking to Michael Malice. Emma Goldman was a fucking communist. Left-wing anarchist means communist. I just don't know why we can't be more clear about this. Anyway, I was just really annoyed by that, and I wanted to rant about it on the internet, and that's why you just got that little rant. We are not going to be watching that Tom Woods bullshit artist. We're going to be watching this. Well, then they should have said it in the description. If they said it in the video, I am not watching a whole video of Tom Woods, who I don't think is intellectually honest. If he does not have Emma Goldman is a communist in the description, he has Emma Goldman is a left-wing anarchist. So that's really his fault. Like, he has already turned me off. I have no desire to hear what he has to say. We're moving on. We're going to watch a different video about Emma Goldman because this was the documentary that I found. Emma Goldman, an exceedingly dangerous woman documentary. Now, I have to say, one of the things I do appreciate about Emma Goldman is I kind of like Emma Goldman's look a little bit. I like it. And I'm not saying like, it's just like, it seems just very like she's got a look. You have to give it to her. She's got a look. She's got a vibe. Okay. And I have to say, I kind of like appreciate this. You know, communists, for all their faults, they do have like a certain kind of look about them. Like, you always know when you're watching a communist video because they all look the same. If you go to left-wing events, like I've gone undercover with the left multiple times, and they have a certain look about them. And I do actually respect that they have like a style and a flair that is very distinctive. Conservatives don't have this. Conservatives have like Donald Trump holding a fucking lightning bolt with an eagle in the background and an American flag waving in the distance. And it's not, it just looks so cheesy. Conservatives have like trailer park chic, like these shirts that you buy on like, you know, from a vendor on the side of the road at a Trump rally, where there's like maybe like gratuitous sparkle and like all this like bullshit, and they don't even like, the designs aren't even that appealing. And then the communists get all the good stuff. Again, like they get all the culture, they get all the good looks. Anyway, that was one thing that I kind of liked about Emma Goldman, is like, you know, just by looking at pictures of this woman, that she did not fuck around and that she didn't give a fuck. And I do kind of have like a great, like, look at that bitch. I almost like, that is actually like, this is another area in which the left has us completely defeated. I want to put that photo on a t-shirt. Like, that is a cool ass photo. I'm sorry. You can be like, she looks stupid, she looks like a leftist, she's ugly, she's fat, blah, 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 all the things that conservatives do. That is a bad ass photo, and it would look awesome on a t-shirt. Can I actually put that on a t-shirt? How old is that photo? I might actually be able to put that photo on a t-shirt depending on how old it is. That's a badass photo, man. But like, this woman had a look. She knew what, that's not her. That's I think a movie or something. She knew what was what. And so I appreciate that. I like the glasses too. I should get glasses like this. I should get little spectacle type glasses, because I do like mocking socialists with like certain elements of their fashion. I should get little spectacle type glasses that just sit on my nose. Maybe I should start adopting an Emma Goldman look just to be funny. Maybe I'll do that. Let's see. Anyway, that's also, by the way, that's also another badass photo. Is that like a mugshot or something? That looks like a mugshot. Also another badass photo. We don't have stuff like this on our side, guys. We just don't. We don't have style. We don't have anything interesting. We just have conservatives going, you're stupid, you're a liberal, you're a retard, and baby, you're fat, and you're... It's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Anyway, so we're going to be watching this documentary, and I don't know if it's any good, and I hope it's good, because we're going to be watching it. And that's what we're going to do tonight for Socialism Saturday, guys. We're going to have a light night. If you want something more meaty and more in-depth for Socialism Saturday, head back over to the stream I did at 2 p.m. today. Go watch the wonky one. We're settling down for some just like light, fun time, please. Yeah, I should get a monocle. The problem is I do actually need to wear glasses. I don't need to wear glasses all the time. Obviously, I'm not wearing glasses right now, but I do actually need to wear glasses. So I don't know that the monocle will do it, but if I can just get like a little like pair of like, I think Trotsky had these too, didn't he? The little spectacles that just sit on your nose and you don't even have the things. I kind of would like that. I think that would be an interesting look. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do tonight, guys. As a reminder, I do a super chat goal on Socialism Saturday, and I do ask that you guys, make sure you can fund my streaming. I don't do a super chat goal every day of the week because I just don't. But on Socialism Saturdays, I do ask that we have a moderate super chat goal. If you guys enjoy my content, if you guys come back like several days a week and you're watching my content and you're hanging out with the chat and you're having a good time, please feel free to throw in $5, $10, $50, $100, $500, however much you want to, into the super chat to basically allow me to do this stuff. Of course, super chats are one of the ways that I fund the work I do, and I of course really appreciate it. And so if 10 people send in $10 tonight, we'll already be there. I do like to front load the super chat on Socialism Saturday because it's always nice to hit that goal. So if you appreciate what I do, please feel free to send in a super chat. We've already got Kazmar in with the 20. Thank you, Kazmar, starting us off strong tonight. I appreciate you as always. Now, as we are doing that, I also want to let people know that there are other ways you can support the work I'm doing. I am currently doing a membership drive for my Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. And we are doing a membership drive all summer long to get 400 new paying supporters into the Substack. And what that's going to allow me to do is more independent journalism in terms of like actually going undercover at events in the back half of the year. That would really help me out. I can only do the things that you guys allow me to do. And when you support my work, either with super chats or with memberships on my Substack, which memberships on the Substack are obviously my number one priority. There are other websites you can support my work on too. The information is below. And of course, I do appreciate all that. But Substack is the one I really do prefer. It's the one that I want to build out the most. And so I'm trying to get 400 new people to sign up as paying members. And what you're supporting when you do this stuff is you're supporting my time in terms of researching this. You're supporting my time in terms of writing all this stuff up and getting it out there. You're supporting my ability to go do spy streams. Like we've been doing a lot of spy streams lately. So you're supporting my ability to go infiltrate leftist events and to record them and to show you what's going on. Just yesterday, in case you missed it, we infiltrated a teacher training in the state of Vermont, which has gone totally communist. And we actually have teachers in the state of Vermont saying, we're not going to follow the Trump administration executive orders. And our school board and our administration and our superintendents have already approved that. And I have other clips from this event too that I'm going to be releasing on Monday. You guys are going to love it. It's going to be great. That's all made possible because you guys support the work I'm doing. Members on the Substack do get to join me for spy streams. We have at least 2 spy streams coming up this week. We have one on Monday that's going to be another teacher spy stream. We also have one on Friday with a major F-off major university that you have all heard of. And they are doing a gender and sexuality talk. And so we will be watching that. Suzanne in with the super chat was out of state for last week. Catching up. Thank you, Suzanne. I do appreciate it. We're already 25% of the way to our goal. So when you sign up as a member on the Substack, you do get invited to Spy Stream. That's probably one of the best perks right now. That is live infiltration. That is content that you will literally not see anywhere else on the internet. And sometimes you even get to watch the news unfold live right in front of you, which is really, really, really cool. You also get access to the supporter Discord. We do movie nights on Sunday night and on Monday night in the supporter Discord. So you can always join us for a nice little wind down movie, which is fun. We also do supporter Zoom calls on Mondays, although we do not have one this week because Spy Stream is going to be taking place of the Zoom call, but we will be resuming Zoom calls next week. So those are some of the perks you get access to. And most importantly, again, you are supporting the work I'm doing because I am 100% funded by people like you. Without people like you, I can't do what I do. And so if you're in a position to financially support what I'm doing, I would really, really appreciate it if you did. I also want to let people know that we have an upcoming book club. You can find this over on decodetheleft.com in the event calendar. And I'm going to be posting about this on the Substack as well. We are doing a book club on May 21st with my new book, Communist Manifesto, a revolutionary fairy tale. This is a dystopian fairy tale based off of the Communist Manifesto. I released it a couple weeks ago. I haven't really talked about it or pushed it that much, but I am really, really proud of this book. It's a good story that illustrates the dangers of communism, I think, pretty effectively as a dystopian fiction. What it is the first half of the book is all about the communist uprising. The proletariat rise up, they overthrow the bourgeois monarchy, they take control of the means of production and all that stuff, and you see the communist revolution play out right in front of you. You also get to understand why people participate in a communist revolution, what draws people towards communism. I'm not demonizing communists in this book because I think there are actually a lot of good reasons that people get drawn into communism. But what I wanted to demonstrate is maybe good people get drawn into crazy left-wing ideas, but those crazy left-wing ideas have consequences, and it doesn't always work out the way you think it is. So we're going to be meeting for a special book club on May 21st at 8 p.m. That is a Wednesday, I believe. And so pick up the book on Amazon. It comes in paperback and Kindle. There is no audio version because I haven't recorded it yet, but you guys can actually read a book like a normal person, or you can find some sort of app to read the audio version for you. I know that Kindle does that. And come and join us to discuss the book on May 21st. This book is appropriate for all ages. There is nothing in this book that is inappropriate for young people. And I actually think that this book would be a great way to introduce these ideas to young people because God knows they're not getting it in school. I would love for this book to be taught in schools as a kind of warning to young people about, like, this is what communism actually is. I actually think it could be used for that. And so if you guys want to join me for book club, go pick up the book. You got plenty of time to read it. It is a relatively quick read. And then come and join us for book club on May 21st. All right, we had Trendalin doing 5 channel memberships. Who got a channel membership from Trendalin? Thank you for those gifts. Everyone who just got a channel membership will be able to join us for Spy Stream. We got Kev, we got AP, we got Maria, we got Amy, and we got Paragon. Congratulations to everyone who got a gift membership from Trendalin, and thank you, Trendalin, for donating those gifts. All right. With that in order, can we get into this documentary? You guys want to watch this documentary? We're not going to do the rules for Socialism Saturday tonight. I just want to have a chill night. I think you guys just want to have a chill night as well. I cannot believe we're in the month of May already. It's actually crazy. And so I'm not going to do the rules. I'm not going to do a formal thing. I believe May 21st is a Wednesday, but you'll have to look at a calendar. I can't be responsible for all calendar-related questions at any given time. So no rules tonight. Let's just have fun. If you guys make observations as we are watching the documentary, please feel free to put those observations in the chat. This can be a dialogue among all of us. And let's learn a little bit more about Emma Goldman. And if you guys have something that you think I should watch related to her, let me know in the chat and we can look up that video and maybe we can watch that. You got a topless man showing as your ad. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what to say about that, bot. Okay. All right, guys, let's get this party started. We are watching Emma Goldman, an exceedingly dangerous woman. Mount the like button for me if you would be so kind. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you're not already. Let's get this party started.
On a cold December morning in 1919, just after 4 a.m., Emma Goldman, her companion Alexander Berkman, and more than 200 other foreign-born radicals were roused from their Ellis Island dormitory beds. In the freezing darkness, the deportees began a journey into exile. Thrown out of the United States for her opposition to the First World War, and especially for her political beliefs.
Wait, can we just pause and just reflect on the fact that the United States used to deport communists? Can we bring that policy back? I've said this in regards to Trump wanting to deport these college students. I'm like, it's kind of bullshit if Trump is deporting these college students because they don't support Israel. That's kind of bullshit. But what Trump should actually be doing is deporting these college student protesters because they're fucking communists. If Trump just changed the reason that he was deporting these college student protesters, I would literally have no problem with it. I would give zero fucks if Trump deported every single college student that's involved in the protests for being a communist, because they're all communists. Most of them are part of organizations that support the radical revolutionary overthrow of the United States government. They should be deporting them for being communists. Yeah, that goes for Sophie too. I'm going to say this. Listen, man, listen. Of course, I like Sophie. Obviously, Sophie Lewis is our favorite communist. She's an abolish the family communist. Sophie, I believe, was born in Vienna or some region in Europe. And so, yes, Sophie's ass should be deported back to Europe for being a communist. Sophie, I mean, and listen, man, I would still watch all Sophie's content. I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm not. My love for Sophie would not diminish based on her getting deported for being a communist. But like, I would like to send as many communists elsewhere as we possibly can, and I believe that the entire country would be better off for it. And so, yes, Sophie would get deported under this archetype. It's true. Yep.
Goldman claimed she was proud to be selected for the honor of deportation. Privately, she was devastated.
One does not live in a country 34 years and find it easy to go. I found my spiritual birth here. All I know, I have gained here. Through the porthole, I could see the great city receding into the distance. It was my beloved city, the metropolis of the New World.
For nearly 30 years, Goldman taunted mainstream America with her outspoken attacks on government, big business, and war. Goldman condemned capitalism, denounced marriage, and crusaded for birth control.
Denounced marriage, you say?
The newspapers called her a modern Joan of Arc, a heretic, a woman possessed of uncompromising single-mindedness.
Personally, she could be obnoxious.
Maybe Emma Goldman is like my communist spirit animal. I kind of am feeling, okay, obviously I'm not a communist, but I'm just really feeling her vibe. You know? She was an unorthodox, like, I can already tell, like, from what, like, she was like an unorthodox woman that had an unorthodox look that just didn't give a fuck. That said, like, is it possible that I'm the reincarnated Emma Goldman? Wouldn't that be funny? I'm going to die one day and I'm going to go back and I'm going to review all my past lives and be like, oh, you were Emma Goldman. It would explain so much. And being an anti-communist in this lifetime would be me atoning for being Emma Goldman in a previous lifetime. Wouldn't that be funny?
She could be ruthless. She could be vindictive.
A plain Russian Jewish girl, but with some magnetism.
I think she was a serious political.
Such a fucking good look, man. It's such a good look. Thanks, Rottweiler, for the super chat. Governments today are too coward to do something against communists, and almost no one besides us even knows we're in the middle of a revolution. Hey, ain't that the truth, Rottweiler? Ain't that the truth?
Political theorist who actually thought through an anarchist movement you could create this kind of self-governing world.
Communist movement.
Whenever the state became too powerful, when it became too intrusive in people's life, when it became too cruel, Emma's voice was there.
Anarchism was often associated with violence and terrorism, and that's the image that people have today.
I think her whole life was operatic, meaning flamboyantly larger than life.
Goldman's story is one of passionate defiance. The story of a life dedicated to free speech, free thought, free love.
Oh, my.
The story of an exceedingly dangerous woman.
I think she was a difficult person, maybe a dangerous woman to everybody. She was totally unacceptable.
This is going to be me. This is me. I should get a typewriter like that. Literally me. Great. Oh. Violet Lotus, you must be new here. And because you're new here, we're going to be gentle with you, okay? We're going to be gentle. All right. Welcome if you're new. We welcome all new people here to Socialism Saturday. I'm going to allow the chat to answer you. Are there many communists in the US and don't they call themselves Democrats now? I'm just going to let the chat answer. I'm not even going to give the chat any instruction. I'm just going to let the chat answer, and you guys can answer Violet Lotus's question. And I'm going to display those. And please be nice, because we're being nice to new people now. I'm turning over a new leaf where I'm not yelling as much and I'm trying to be nice to people. And it's really hard and it really sucks and I hate it. And I want to be able to yell more, but I'm told that I yell too much on the internet and I have to start being nice to people who are new because I scare them away, which is legit and probably true. I get that. So no, Simona says yes, no, yes. Communists hate Democrats. Communists hate Democrats. There are loads of communists, but they're not Democrats. They're radical left socialists. Democrats aren't communists. Communist revolutionaries hate Democrats. Democrats aren't for private property abolition. The right wing has been lying for years about this. Communists and socialists hate the Democrats. The Democrats capitulate to capitalism. Real communists hate the Democratic Party. No, they hate Democrats as much as Republicans, if not even more most of the time. The communists in the US hate the Democrats. Yeah, I should put a rubber band on my wrist and snap it every time I yell at someone. Yes, there are a lot of communists, and no, communism hates Democrats. They've rebranded themselves as socialist and queer. There are millions of communists in the US and they hate the Green-Eyed Lady. Hey, can we just take a moment to reflect on the progress of Green-Eyed Lady? Because this took a while to get you here, Green-Eyed Lady, and I'm really glad you stuck around, and I appreciate it. And now we've even got Green-Eyed Lady saying that there are millions of communists and they all hate the Democrats. I love it. I love it. Many commies. Democrats aren't commies. Commies took over the K through 12 schools. They did not like Democrats. Communists literally protested Harris. Julian says there are many communists, but really many communists in the US. Democrats are completely different than communists. Exactly. Exactly. So there's your answer. And that is the correct answer. There are a lot of communists in the US. They are not Democrats. They hate Democrats. They hate Democrats far more than they hate conservatives. And yeah. So welcome. See, look at that. We were nicer. We were nicer, and Violet Lotus didn't get scared away. Look at that. Yeah, it's a heartwarming moment. It's a heartwarming experience on the channel when I'm nice.
American Experience is made possible by the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation to enhance public understanding of the role of technology. The foundation also seeks to portray the lives of the men and women engaged in scientific and technological pursuit.
Maybe I can get a grant from them now that I have a nonprofit.
At Liberty Mutual Insurance, we do everything we can to help
why am I
prevent
getting
accidents.
a commercial? This isn't even a YouTube commercial. This is built into the movie.
Like you.
Okay. Someone recorded this off the TV.
Emma Goldman crossed 3 seas to reach the promised land. In 1885, the feisty 16-year-old Russian girl had just escaped an arranged marriage by threatening to drown herself in the Neva River. America, she hoped, would be her salvation.
A land of hope, a land of opportunity, a land of infinite possibility. When you come into this country, all things are possible for you. All things are possible. You can forget the past. You can have a brave new world.
And for a radical like Emma Goldman, a revolutionary like Emma Goldman, the volatility of this country seemed like a great opportunity for creating a genuinely new world, for creating whatever was going to come after capitalism.
Oh.
And I think that she entered this world, as did many of sort of politicized people, political radicals, coming here feeling that this was the place where the revolution could be born.
It was the 15th of August, the day of my arrival in New York City. All that had happened in my life until that time was now left behind me, cast off like a worn-out garment.
Cast off was a miserable childhood in St. Petersburg, where she lived under the tyranny of a czarist regime and under the thumb of a father, anxious to rid himself of this unwanted, rebellious daughter. She had also just walked away from 4 years of factory work in upstate New York and walked out on a brief, loveless marriage to an immigrant like herself.
I was 20 years old. My entire possessions consisted of $5 and a sewing machine. I had no friends, but I carried the address of Die Freiheit, an anarchist newspaper.
Within a day of her arrival, Goldman walked into Saks Cafe.
She's walking into a place, one can imagine it, tumultuous, full of people, writers, working men, printers, people working in textile shops, all there after a day's work, from a political meeting, talking about politics, the hubbub, the smell of beer, the amazing number of languages.
Actually, Bot, it's funny you say that. And this isn't related to this time period specifically, but I follow a bunch of accounts on Instagram where they go back and they have like all these old like Roman cookbooks or old English cookbooks. Like we're talking from like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And so they make all the food just like, or even thousands of years ago, I guess, in terms of Rome, they make all the food just like they would have had 1,000 years ago, but they have to do it with modern ingredients, obviously. And it's actually really cool. So there are actually accounts that go do that, but not this time period I haven't seen, but that would be cool too. Look how dressed up people always were. Have you guys ever seen videos of like young kids from like the turn of the century and they're all like wearing these suits and they're all wearing a hat? It's like, have you guys ever seen these videos of like when the video camera first got like invented and like some guy would just set it up on like the streets of New York or something? And so all the kids are kind of circling around the video camera and they don't know what it is, but they've all like, they're all like wearing these like nice suits and hats and they look all put together. And I'm like, what happened to us? What happened? I mean, don't get me wrong. I like that I can wear t-shirts and leggings every day, but maybe we've gone downhill a little bit. People used to have style.
It's being spoken. She came home when she came to Saks.
Sitting at a nearby table was Alexander Berkman. Berkman, called Sasha by his friends, had been in the country only a year. He would become the still point of her life.
He was quite standoffish at first. He didn't think women were reliable revolutionaries.
Yeah, probably true.
He thought women attended radical meetings in order to look for men. And once they found men, they were gone and took the men with them.
He's young, he's ferocious, he's charming, he's dedicated. He lives and breathes anarchism. She's aware that something's happening in her. She may not even be aware of it. Maybe we're saying too much. You've suddenly changed and you're there. And now you are with other people. You're not alone. It's been a fantastic time for her.
See, this is how the left draws people in. This is one of the things that they do. because it's like they have all these social communities where they go to cafes, they go to bookstores, they have interesting conversations, you get to meet other people that way. The right doesn't do this. I've talked about this a million times, but you never know when new people are going to be listening. Has anyone in the chat ever gone to like a GOP meeting? Like, and I'm not talking about CPAC. I'm not talking about a Trump rally. I'm not talking about like a big event. I'm talking about a local GOP meeting. Just like the conservatives in your town getting together to talk about things that conservatives like to talk about. Has anyone in the chat ever actually done that? Because I have. I have been to so many local conservative meetings just because I had to, like, it was something that I did at one point. And do you know what those meetings are like? There's almost no one there. They're boring. They're not actually having conversations with anyone. They're basically like, they might have like a politician come in and talk to them about something, but they're not like, it's like, it is a completely painful experience. And if someone has had a different experience than I have, please let me know in the chat. And it's not because the people going to those meetings are bad people. I'm not saying that they're bad people. It's not that they're bad people. It's just like, they don't know how to create culture. They don't know how to create something that people want to be a part of. They don't know how to draw people in. One of the reasons Trump sticks out so much on the right is Trump, for all of his faults, knows how to draw people in. Like, you want to go to a Trump rally. Even if you don't like Trump, I would still go to a Trump rally because Trump rallies are fun. They're like rock events, right? But if you just go to like an average conservative thing, they're boring, they're stuffy, there's no interesting conversation, there's really no reason to come back. I've gone to conservative events where if I dared to tell them that they were wrong about something that they were just objectively wrong about, they would get really pissed off and yell at you. And actually, I almost had one guy try to beat me up one time. This actually happened. I almost got physically assaulted at a local GOP meeting because I told someone critical race theory wasn't about your skin color. And he got so pissed off that he almost, I was actually afraid he was going to physically assault me. That was the welcome that I got to the local GOP meeting when I went to talk to them about what critical race theory was. And so I bring that up because, like, you're even seeing it in this documentary where, what were the communists doing? What were they doing? They were hanging out at cafes. They were having interesting conversations. There were people who were passionate about these ideas. They were hanging out at like probably bookstores and having coffee and interesting food and talking about their beliefs and riling each other up about creating a new world that's better for them and all this stuff. And it's like, that's something people want to be a part of. They actually believed in something. Nick Fuentes talks about this. I once posted a clip to my Twitter, I think, of one of Nick's shows several months ago, where Nick Fuentes was basically like, at least the left fucking believes in something, at least they're real, and he was absolutely right. And it's not that he agrees with the left, it's not that I agree with the left, but at least they have principles. At least they believe in something. They have a vision for the world. They're excited about these ideas. They want to talk about these ideas. These, like, leftists are people who go to a weekend conference just to learn more about being a leftist, and they build community around it. Yeah, Lenin, this is a great point, Akshay. Lenin had his meetings in bars and cafes. Why are conservatives having meetings at bars? Like, we have to try to create something that people want to be a part of. We have to try to create something that's cool. That's part of what I want to do with this community, by the way. This is part of why I'm really, really, really trying to be nicer, even though I am not naturally inclined to be nice. I want to create something that we can create, like, it would have to be like an online thing, but like some sort of like community where we are passionate anti-communists. We are passionate about watching stuff like this to understand it. We are passionate about watching the left. I mean, how many people in my community just get obsessed with watching socialists like I get obsessed with watching socialists? We love this. Those are the people we need to find to bring into our crazy world, and then do different things to engage them as part of the social system in our little ecosystem that we're creating. I'm basically looking like the communists created these communities that were like social systems where people had friends, people could do things that they liked, they could talk about ideas that they liked. We need to do the same thing because that is what draws people to the left. No, this is a dumb idea. Communism is not a reaction to Christian. No. John, no. Yeah, our socialist safari trips. I like that. Listen, we can be disagreeable because we sit through hours of communism. I'm Jack. Okay. I think that, one of the things I do like about our community, and you guys are just going to hear me riffing a lot tonight, and that's just going to be the way it is. I have things to say when I have things to say. The thing I like about our community is there is a little bit of a bar to be accepted in our community. It's like, oh yeah, you think you understand the left? You don't understand the definition of what capitalism is? You need to learn the definition of capitalism. Like, people have to achieve certain milestones before we really accept them. And I kind of like that. It's like, how much do you want to be part of our community? Like, we'll welcome you in. You can watch our content. We want you to learn. We want you to ask questions. But like, until you learn like the basics, and like, just sit back and listen for a while, maybe. Because like, until you learn the basics, we are not going to accept you as part of our community. You have to have a basic understanding of the language, and you have to have a basic and you're going to get hazed until you have that understanding of the language. And then once you pass the hazing initiation, this is like I'm creating a cult, right? So once you pass the initial hazing, you're cool. And we know who you are, and we know that you've done the work, because we all earn our place in this community. We have earned our place by watching hours and hours and hours and hours of communism. Yeah, we basically have our own gang. You have to get initiated into the gang, and you have to do that on your own. You have to have the self-motivation to do what's required to join our gang. And we will welcome anyone in, but you have to do the work. No, everyone does not have to chug a full bottle of whiskey. Although Emma Goldman kind of looks like the type of woman who would chug a full bottle of whiskey, and I respect that about her.
Soon, the German anarchist Johann Most entered Goldman's life. Most would become her mentor.
Mustache. Why is his
her
face
idol.
uneven?
Most seems to have been a brilliant orator, sarcastic, biting, funny, witty, vicious use of language. The reptile brood, extirpate the reptile
Who's this
brood,
guy? I like
say
him.
about the middle class and the upper class. And Emma says of him that he stirred her very soul when she heard him speak.
Look at that guy.
Advocate
He
of
rules.
insurrection and revolutionary violence, Johann Most had a large and devoted following within the American anarchist movement. As a group, American anarchists were idealistic,
Communists.
articulate, and organized.
Not anarchists. Communists.
Though few in number, they had surprising influence.
It was an enormously powerful, well-directed movement. They talked about equality of everyone, regardless of race and sex.
Communist.
They talked about the free production of goods on a cooperative, associative level.
Communist.
They talked about getting rid of the state. And they also talked about the need for education, equal education, regardless of who you were. They were
hang on.
1883.
Hang on. Our young friend needs to learn. If communists hate Democrats, why the communist Saul Alinsky was mastermind of Hillary and Obama? He wasn't. There is no universe in which Saul Alinsky was the mastermind of Hillary and Obama. Hillary and Obama did not go remotely far enough for Saul Alinsky. Just because someone uses Alinsky tactics doesn't mean they are in the spirit of Alinsky. We use Alinsky tactics. I employ Alinsky tactics in order to annoy communists. I employ Alinsky tactics in this community, not because I'm a leftist or a communist, but because they work. If Alinsky could comment on Obama or Hillary, he would call them capitalists and traitors to communism. Okay? So, again, just because, like, and we have about 1,000,001 clips of real communists and socialists denouncing Democrats over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's real. Real communists and socialists protest Democrats. Would they be doing that if they were actually communists? No, they wouldn't.
In 1886, the anarchist movement captured headlines
Communist.
around the country. Falsely accused of a bombing in Chicago's Haymarket Square, 4 men, all anarchists, were put
Communists.
to death. Their trial and execution became a rallying point for firebrands like Johann Most and galvanized a new generation of radicals.
Emma Goldman is baptized by violence, so to speak, or at least that's the way she sees her career as an anarchist. She becomes an
Communist.
anarchist after the 5 Haymarket martyrs are executed. And she feels great affinity with these 5 men. She later on in life calls them parents, intellectual parents.
For Goldman, it must have seemed that and for Berkman, it must have seemed that they finally had their founding stone. It was the place where they took their oath.
Very quickly, she found her own voice and found that people responded to her because she spoke with such great conviction.
I think on stage she was possessed. From what I've read about her performances, I think of her as a speaker who let herself go and inspired herself. I think she was from the school of I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say next.
At her first speaking engagement, Goldman panicked. Unable to remember her topic, the campaign for the 8-hour day, she spoke instead of her great ideal.
I have to get glasses
anarchism.
like that.
I could sway people with words. Words that welled up from within me, from some unfamiliar depth.
To Goldman, anarchism combined an optimistic faith in human nature with an intense distrust
Okay,
of
John,
authority.
I need you to stop talking in my chat and I need you to start listening, all right? You have no okay, I'm not being nice right now. I'm breaking my Karlyn is nice rule. You have no fucking clue what the purple-haired gender studies student is. Can you define queer for us, John? I welcome new people as long as those new people listen, and those new this is your fucking hazing ritual. The hazing ritual that I was talking about a minute ago, where you need to prove yourself to join our cult, you are now in the hazing ritual. Please define queer for us. Please define queer for us, because you are not going to come into my chat and being pontificating in my chat completely off topic from anything we're talking about when you don't know the basics. So now you're going to prove to us, John, that you know the basics. Define queer for us, please. Because when you're talking about a purple-haired gender studies student, you're talking about queer. So we're gonna hope that you know what you're talking about and you aren't just like trying to make yourself feel smart in my chat. John, you have 30 seconds to define queer for me, or I'm banning you from my channel. Because sitting there and not saying anything after you've been pontificating in my chat, having nothing to do with nothing, isn't acceptable to me. 30 seconds. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Nope, wrong, completely wrong, John. Thank you. You have demonstrated what I need you to demonstrate, which is you don't know the basics of what you're talking about. Now, I would like people in the chat to define queer for me so that John knows I'm not just making this up. There is actually a definition of this, and it's not just whatever you feel like it is at any given point. So I would like people in the chat to define queer for me because John doesn't know what it means. I know there's a delay. I'm going to have to wait a second. And then we'll see, John, if you stick around and actually choose to learn something. Queer is going against the norms that uphold capitalism. Queer is going against normativity, against capitalism. Not normal or traditional. They are anti-capitalist. Queer is a political ideology that defines capitalist norms, or that defies capitalist norms of any kind. Queer, no. Oh, well, kind of. Queer is whatever is disruptive of the cis patriarchy. Another word for the cis patriarchy is capitalism. Queer is anti-normative. Queer is against capitalism. Queer is a rejection of capitalist norms. Queer is not supporting the normative standards that uphold capitalism. Queer rejects the norms that are derived from, uphold, and reproduce That's a Maria. That is a great definition, Maria. Well done. Queer, non-normative, against capitalism. Queer means against the gender binary, means against capitalism. Queer does not mean gay. You do not need to be gay to be queer. You do not need to be trans to be queer. There are many gay people and many trans people who are not queer. Queer is a far-left political ideology that seeks the annihilation of capitalism. Queer is communism in action, anti-normativity. Queer is a far-left political ideology that seeks to abolish capitalism. It goes against normativity that upholds a capitalist system. Well done, well done, well done. So, John, I don't mean to make you feel bad, but until you have learned the basics, there's no pontificating from you in my chat. Do you want to know why? We don't have anything to learn from you right now. If you want to be in my chat, John, it is your responsibility to learn from us, because we're the ones that have actually been watching these people for years. So you're welcome to your opinions. You're no longer welcome to pontificate in my chat. Hope you learned something.
She defined anarchism as a new social order based on liberty and unrestricted by man-made law. In this anarchist world, government would be replaced by a spirit of free cooperation.
Communism.
From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs.
Literally Karl Marx. Literally fucking Marx.
We have to accept was Goldman's bedrock belief when she moves into anarchism. That's the tradition that she's drawing on. So you've got this ideal, which is the most extreme of all.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know I'm talking a lot. We're only 14 minutes into this. This actually really pisses me off. They keep calling her anarchist, 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 anarchist. And then they literally fucking quote Karl Marx. From each according to their ability, to each according to their need, is Karl fucking Marx. And they're still not acknowledging that this is communism. And it's like, this is how propaganda works, man. They're trying to make Emma Goldman seem like this revolutionary. I mean, she is a revolutionary figure, but like they're trying to make her seem like, oh my God, this is a compelling anarchist woman, and she just wanted everyone to have everything they needed, and from each according to their ability, to each according to their need. But we're not telling you where it comes from. Why didn't they say that was literally Karl Marx? They were. It's like, this is propaganda. This is communist propaganda because they're not saying it's communism.
Vote in anarchism. You can't get coalitions with various other groups to get anarchism. Anarchism is the most extreme of all. And therefore...
Wait, hang on. John Morgan graduated today and he's showing up for Socialism Saturday. Everyone congratulate John in the chat. John graduated from college today. John joined my community 4 years ago when he was a freshman in college. And now he is graduating today. He's all grown up. He's going to graduate school. Congratulations, John Morgan. I'm going to rewind a little bit.
That she's drawing on. So you've got this ideal, which is the most extreme of all. You can't vote in anarchism. You can't get coalitions with various other groups to get anarchism. Anarchism is the most extreme of all. And therefore, how that balances with the needs and the feelings and the routines of everyday life was a huge problem for American anarchists and anarchists worldwide. Well, how can I deal with the fact that I haven't got any rent? That's a huge gap.
Anarchism as a political philosophy is almost jaw-droppingly naive. Freedom is a good inclination. Suspicion of state power is a good inclination. The question is, how is that to translate into practical politics?
I think she was a serious political theorist who actually thought through an anarchist movement you could create this kind of self-governing world. Anarchism is sort of the noblest of all dreams.
Communism.
It seems to me in some ways it's almost a profoundly Christian dream, though people never talk about it that way.
God!
Well, why do people stick with their God? It's what they have. That was her God, that revolutionary ideal. She was a very religious woman, if you think about it.
But Goldman also believed that to create a more perfect society, acts of political violence were occasionally justified. A belief shared by her friend and lover, Alexander Berkman. Violence would soon begin to dog her every step. June 1892. A strike at the Andrew Carnegie-owned steel plant in Homestead, Pennsylvania, escalated into one of the bloodiest labor battles the country had seen. The Homestead strike came during a period of intense unrest. Thousands of men and women fought for the right to strike, to form unions, and to establish a 40-hour work week. They were met with force from police, from soldiers, and from the hired armed guards of the Pinkerton Detective Agency.
The Pinkerton Detective
On June
Agency?
25th, workers called a strike. Henry Clay Frick, plant manager, closed the mill and locked them out. Then he called in the Pinkertons. 2 weeks later, in the middle of the night, 300 Pinkertons crammed onto barges and were towed 10 miles up the Monongahela River to Homestead. Armed workers were waiting on the riverbank.
Communists.
At dawn, a pitched battle broke out. "12 hours later, 3 Pinkertons and 7 strikers lay dead.
To us, it sounded like the awakening of the American worker. The long-awaited day of resurrection.
I wonder if they say communist at all in this entire documentary.
In Alexander Berkman, it stirred something deeper. It was the moment for what anarchists called propaganda by the deed, a political assassination. His target, Henry Clay Frick.
Emma and Sasha and their friends live in virtual reality. There's therefore a sort of an element of folly in their attempt to solve this country's problems by going to Pennsylvania and getting rid of these industrialists. And they do believe that by getting rid of Frick, they'll ignite a revolution. But what neither of them have, Sasha, Emma, or any of their friends, is a cultural translator, someone to explain to them the intricacies of this culture, the indigenous culture, in part because it's a blind spot. They really don't understand.
Yeah, just a reminder, super
that
chat,
there is a
please.
difference between living
Thanks,
in the United
Trenolin.
States and living in Tsarist Russia.
We have a goal to meet, people. I don't ask for much.
In the basement of their crowded tenement building, Goldman kept watch as Berkman mixed the explosives.
What if anything should go wrong? But then, did not the end justify the means? What if a few should have to perish? The many would be made free. Yes, the end in this case justified the means.
Wow.
Berkman tested his homemade bomb on a remote beach.
That's an interesting thought exercise, isn't it? And I'm just saying this is a thought exercise. I do not advocate violence. Violence is bad. Don't hurt anyone. I'm just saying as like a philosophical thought exercise. Can we just do this for a moment? What if we, and this is, again, purely hypothetical. I'm not suggesting anyone do this in reality. In fact, don't do this. I'm saying do not do this. Do not ever, 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 ever do this. But what if killing a few communists would mean that none of us ever have to worry about there being a communist revolution in the United States, and we can all, maybe focus on better solutions to the problem that we have? Like, I mean, really, this is a thought exercise. Like, I mean, because like you were seeing revolutionaries here. They're like, if we can get our Marxist utopia, if we can kill some people, and it's just a few people, and then we make the world better for everyone, is it worth sacrificing a few people? I mean, listen, that's a good point. People died in the Revolutionary War, and it founded the United States. If we could ensure, well, I mean, that is the question. But I mean, before you even get to which ones, like, is that actually an acceptable trade-off? I actually don't know what the answer is to that question, if I'm honest about it. I don't know, like, in my, like, yeah, well, kind of like, well, that wasn't the point the Unabomber was making. The Unabomber was making a different point. But, well, yeah, that is a question. That is a question. The Power Chat link is in the description below. I'll pull up Power Chat to make sure I can see it, but it's in the description on the YouTube. I don't know, just something to think about. I mean, this is part of the argument. It's like, I believe that communists would kill all of us in a second. Communists would absolutely kill us. Communists would show up at our door and make us go to the gulag. They would take away all our stuff from us. I don't know. I would have to think about that. I don't know.
Staten Island. It failed. He decided to use a gun instead. Goldman wanted to accompany him, but he insisted she remain behind to explain.
Hang on, we got a super chat from Andre. Most conservatives are illiterates in socialism. They don't decode the socialist language to know how to fight. So true. So true. Thank you, Andre, for the super chat.
In his action to the world.
It's Berkman who goes to kill Frick. It's Berkman who is obviously the chosen one. I mean, one senses in Berkman a great desire to be a martyr, to go down that road.
This was going to be an act of suicide. In other words, he was a suicide bomber. That's how he envisioned himself. And the idea of this act was that he was going to sacrifice himself. He was going to try to assassinate Frick, again, who he saw as being a murderer, essentially.
Posing as an employment agent for strikebreakers, Berkman gained entrance to Frick's office. He pointed his revolver at Frick's head and fired. The bullet struck Frick in the shoulder. Berkman lunged at Frick, managing to stab him with a sharpened steel file before being dragged away. Frick stopped a deputy sheriff from shooting Berkman. "I do not think I will die," he gasped. "But whether I do or not, the company will pursue the same policy, and it will win."
Berkman is a bit of a klutz. He tries his hands at, making bomb. He can't do it. He gets a revolver. He can't do it either. It's a bit of
Communists
a radical
were always
pulp,
incompetent.
Fiction with very crude elements and great emotions, but very little experience and very little understanding of the place and also of the time.
Workers had not risen in rebellion, quite the contrary. They were appalled by it. This was an outsider who had come into the middle of their struggle and had managed, almost single-handedly, to undermine the support that they had.
The workers wanted better wages, job security, better working conditions, recognition of their union. In other words, everything the workers wanted were ways in which they could advance in American capitalist society. They wanted a fairer America.
True.
Emma Goldman and Alexander Berkman wanted a different America, a different world.
So true.
Within 6 months, the Homestead strike collapsed. Berkman was sentenced to 22 years. He and Goldman kept her role in the plot against Frick a secret. On a balmy fall day, Berkman began his sentence.
He is handsome. I know I find Jewish, but like he was still handsome. Whatever.
All is quiet. What will become of me? I don't know. The future is dark. My hand gropes blindly, hesitantly. I clutch desperately to the thread that still binds me to the living. It seems to unravel in my hands.
They were united by a great crime, and that is a life-binding event. The world begins, in effect, with a crime, which leads to the expulsion from paradise and the constant need to return to it somehow. So there are symbolic
Hey,
moments
Annie, thank
in
you.
her life that define almost the
Appreciate it.
Often I wanted to run away, never to see him again. But I was held by something greater than the pain, the memory of his act, for which he alone had paid the price. I realized that to my last breath, it would remain the strongest link in the chain that bound me to him.
A year after Homestead, the United States was on the verge of economic collapse. 600 banks closed.
Oh,
56
depression.
railroads went bankrupt. 15,000 companies shut down. And the number of unemployed soared from 800,000 to more than 3 million.
Hey. Soto Boy sit with a $20 super chat. Thank you. Great work, Karlyn. Hope you find some refreshing Jewish cake at your local Target. Coke, not cake. Coke. Oh my God. I was like, Coke. I was like, cake. What? Coke. Listen. You gotta, like, I really mean this. You gotta hand it to the Jews. They got Coke to change their entire recipe to the good recipe. We can't just have the good Coke recipe all the time for everyone. It's only for Jews for Passover. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think the Panic of 1893 is the most important phenomenon in the development of modern American history, and particularly modern American radicalism. The Depression leads to the discovery that industrialization is creating a gap between the rich and the poor, a chasm between the rich and the poor, and that it's very dangerous, and it's very unsafe, and it's very unfair, and it's very unpatriotic.
Goldman helped organize mass meetings and hunger demonstrations. On August 21st, 1893, she led a march of 1,000 to New York's Union Square, carrying a red banner.
Go into the streets where the rich dwell. Ask for work. If they do not give you work, ask for bread. If they do not give you work or bread, then take bread.
Hey, Vince. Thank you. Appreciate you as always,
You
my
want bread?
friend.
Go and take it. You're starving, go and take it. Make restaurants feed you. Make bakeries give you food. And she'd been very powerful to the extent that people had been very, very impressed by her oratory and her power.
Just 24, Goldman was already recognized as a
24.
professional agitator.
Wow.
Her talk of insurrection, of doing without government, of encouraging the unemployed to take matters into their own hands, of thousands of workers going door to door demanding food, was terrifying to authorities. She was arrested and charged with inciting to riot.
Anarchism is an immensely
Communism.
exciting, poetic, intoxicating, fantastical idea, and so of course she scared the shit out of people. I mean, you know, and she intended to.
I think what made her so scary to those people to whom she was scary, and probably is exactly what made her appealing to those people who found her appealing, which is that she was an incredibly free spirit.
Yeah, so true.
She's in the public eye. She's famous. She's notorious. She's often referred to as the famous anarchist. She's visible. And there's something about that that she enjoys. But there's something about that that also is politically important, because it's also a way to talk about anarchism.
Communism, not anarchism, communism.
Goldman was sentenced to 1 year in prison. She used the time to educate herself, reading Emerson, Thoreau, and Whitman. She also trained as a nurse. When she was released in the summer of 1894, Goldman was met by a crowd of 2,800.
Thank you.
She told them she'd been imprisoned for talking. She would soon begin talking again, this time about psychological repression and Sigmund Freud.
Oh, really?
She
Freud.
began speaking about
Hello, Freud. We learned a lot about Freud this week.
marriage, female emancipation, and sex.
Emma Goldman was the big boogeyman of turn of the century America, especially since she combined this danger of being militant and volatile and out of control and prone for violence with this doctrine of free love that people in the mind associate with also free sex. So this combination of violence and sex was very titillating, very interesting.
I demand the independence of woman, her right to support herself, to live for herself, to love whomever she pleases, or as many as she pleases. I demand freedom for both sexes, freedom of action, freedom in love, and freedom in motherhood.
She was totally unacceptable. Not just to the status quo, not just to the bureaucrats, but to the progressive people, to the educated people, to everybody.
She was aware of her ability to generate strong passions. You cheer for me, you follow me, she told a reporter in the spring of 1901. But you'd hang me if your mood changed. In May 1901, Goldman gave a lecture entitled The Modern Phase of Anarchy, an incendiary talk on political assassination and the glory of martyrdom. Leon Czolgosz, a young would-be anarchist, sat in the audience listening attentively. 4 months later, at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York, Czolgosz worked his way through the crowd and shot President William McKinley twice in the chest at point-blank range.
Czolgosz told the authorities that Emma Goldman had set him on fire when he went to hear her speak. And this immediately led to a condemnation of Goldman throughout the country. She was actually in danger of her life, and it led to the arrest of any anarchist or any perceived radical police could get their hands on.
Goldman was arrested and interrogated. After the death of McKinley, and after authorities failed to turn up evidence connecting her to the assassination, she was released.
I've mentioned this on previous streams before, but I want people to really think about this. Like, a lot of times when we're watching communism on this channel, people come into the chat and they're like, oh yeah, how many views does this have? And, you know, I really pride myself on finding content that like no one else has actually watched. And so when we're watching content that only has like 100 views, sometimes less, I actually think that that's a good thing, because it means we're finding the content that no one else is looking at and no one else is paying attention to. But just because something doesn't have a lot of views doesn't mean it's not impactful. Just because something doesn't have a lot of views on YouTube or didn't get a lot of retweets on Twitter, it doesn't mean it's not deeply influential. It doesn't mean it can't literally change the course of human events. Like, you think about like the Communist Manifesto. The Communist Manifesto was a pamphlet. It was a pamphlet that two guys wrote. It was a pamphlet that two guys wrote and distributed and then talked about at a conference. And probably when the Communist Manifesto was first written, probably not that many people wrote it, or read it rather. But that doesn't mean it wasn't impactful. Hey, thanks, Everyday Therapist, putting us over goal. We hit it. We hit it. I wasn't sure we were going to hit goal tonight, honestly. Appreciate you as always, Everyday Therapist. But like, so I bring this up now because, you know, they're talking about like Emma Goldman gave a speech in which she probably read a philosophy paper that she wrote, which talked about the virtues of, well, assassinating people. And she gave a speech, and there probably weren't even that many people listening to that speech. But one person was, and that one person took that speech seriously, and a couple weeks later, he went and assassinated someone, which, of course, we denounced. Don't ever do that. No violence allowed, all that stuff. But you can see how one speech given to the right people can literally change the course of human events. One pamphlet that one guy wrote in his apartment that time can literally change the course of human events. This is why I tell people all the time, you've got to start writing things down in this era. Like, I really, like, I've thought about this a lot, and I've talked about this week how I got approval for fiscal sponsorship to start my own nonprofit this week. One of the things my nonprofit is going to do is literally, I just want to create documentation and archives of all this stuff. And I just want to create like actual research of saying like, here's what these people are doing. And because I'm very deeply concerned, and this is real, and I don't think enough people talk about this. I'm very deeply concerned about how history is going to interpret this time period, because think about 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 200 years from now. We're about to celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country next year. Think about 200 years from now. When people look back at this moment, what are they going to see as documentation? They're going to see influencers on Instagram. They're going to see conservative bullshit artists on Twitter. They're going to see that Elon Musk literally tweeted his way into basically living at Mar-a-Lago and being deeply influential about that. Like, they're going to see all this stupid shit. But how many people are actually writing about an anti-communist perspective during this time period? How many people are actually talking about here from a practical perspective, not from an outlandish clickbait perspective? I am deeply, deeply, deeply concerned that history is going to judge us based on the clickbait bullshit artists that get all the attention because they're bullshit clickbait artists. And so and this is something I've been thinking about for years. I've been talking about for years. We need to be documenting this time period. We need to be writing things about our perspectives in this time period. And even if you think that no one's ever going to read it, you don't know. You literally don't know. I wrote an article. I wrote a fucking paper about how the campus insurrections, the campus protests are not anti-Semitic, they're communism. And, you know, I can't say that a huge number of people have read that paper. I know some people have. But guess what? That paper just led to an article this week getting published in Town Hall. And that was a paper that I wrote just in my office saying, here's my perspective and here's the evidence. So you never know when, and I mean, think about how I became known on the internet. I wrote an article and put it on Medium, not thinking anyone would ever read it. And then 4 million people had read it within a week. You never, ever, 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 ever know when something that you write or something that you create is going to become hugely influential. And it doesn't necessarily mean getting a ton of views on it. It can just mean that the right person read it at the right time and it influenced a direction they were going in. Or even just that, I've thought a lot about, like, I create a lot of content just for the purpose of creating a history of this time period. Well, we're working on it. That's what the nonprofit is, kind of. So I don't know. I just say that to encourage other people. Like, I know that I'm not supposed to say this because, like, content creators aren't supposed to create more competition for themselves or whatever. But, like, I really do think the more people writing about this time period, the more people writing about our ideas, the more people writing about what's going on. Again, not from the conservative bullshit clickbait perspective, but actually taking it seriously. I think that's going to be better once history looks back to judge us. And history will look back to judge us someday. And I really think we're going to look very, very stupid when history does that. I don't know.
To the horror of a grief-stricken public,
That's out
she
there.
threw herself into an impassioned defense of
I know
Leon
you did.
Czolgosz.
As an anarchist, I am opposed to violence. But if people want to do away with assassins, they must first do away with the conditions which produce murderers.
Goldman's defense of Czolgosz, I think, very much damaged the anarchist movement. But it damaged it in the sense of, once again, going back to the central
Communists.
question of, were anarchists
Communists.
for violent overthrow of the government
Yes.
or not? This is the
They
trail,
are.
the thread
Yes.
that leads constantly through anarchism's debate over just what it was and how it intended to bring about its utopia.
To my mind, there's no question that she romanticized Czolgosz as an isolated, lone, heroic individual. She identified him, I think, with Berkman, and that was one of the reasons why she couldn't bring herself to criticize him.
Yeah. Say communism. I should put
In
that
a
on a
speech
t-shirt.
to Congress, the new president, Theodore Roosevelt, declared,
Say
"The
communism,
anarchist
bitch.
is the enemy of humanity, the enemy of all mankind."
Oh my God.
Goldman was vilified. Many labor unions distanced themselves from the anarchists to safeguard the modest successes they'd won over the years. Some of Goldman's own comrades accused her of causing the movement irreparable harm.
Comrades, exactly.
Even Berkman denounced Czolgosz, who was put to death in the electric chair.
I feel like
In
I even look like
1902,
her.
Goldman withdrew from the movement that
I'm the
had been the center
reincarnation of Emma
her life.
Goldman.
Now 32, she began working as a nurse in the tenements of the Lower East Side. Her patients knew her as E.G. Smith.
It was bitter hard to face life anew. Our movement had lost its appeal for me. Still more harrowing was the gnawing doubt of the values I had so fervently believed in. I had lost my identity.
I have to. I bet you if I wore my hair like Emma Goldman and I got glasses like Emma Goldman, I bet I would look exactly like her, and that kind of freaks me out a little bit. Suzanne, thank you. Wonder if anyone in this documentary sprained an ankle trying to avoid saying communism. It's like, this is why anarchism gets a bad rap, because anarchism is confused with communism when there's a whole bunch of anarchists that are not fucking communists. That's why words matter. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it.
Goldman's isolation didn't last long. She soon made her way back to the lecture platform, even though she'd been branded the high priestess of anarchy and was still considered the most dangerous woman in the country.
Oh, hey.
Only in America.
Andre with the super chat. We're taking our time tonight. Andre, writing part of literacy is creativity per cursive signature. Start peace treaties, start war plans, disarm entire armies in war, disarm armies in war. Andre, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Writing part of literacy is creativity per cursive signatures. Start peace treaties, start war plans. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but I do appreciate the money. Thank you.
Could somebody who'd been associated
Halloween's on a
with the death
Friday?
of a beloved president
That's cool.
be able to come back and have a career as a public speaker?
She began speaking in union halls, ladies' clubs, and private homes all across Manhattan. Among her new passions was an old subject, the struggling revolution in Russia.
Communism.
In 1903, the Tsarist regime began a wave of pogroms against its Jewish population. Hundreds of Jews were killed in Kishinev alone.
Oh no, that's horrible.
2 years later, on a day forever known as Bloody Sunday,
horrible
political
behavior by the
dissidents
communists.
demonstrating in front of
Horrible.
the Winter Palace were massacred.
Unconscionable behavior by
The
communists.
events stunned the world.
Now that I had greater access to the American mind, I determined to use whatever
Yeah.
ability I
Never
possessed
forget. Exactly
to
right.
lead the heroic cause of revolutionary Russia.
For the next 2 years, she toured the country drumming up support for her homeland. Her talks on Russia, on the rights of workers, on civil liberties, and even on anarchism drew large, sympathetic crowds.
She found the world was catching up with her. Here were people with an interest in what Emma Goldman had to say because there was this growing awareness of
Listen, so Angie says she was 32, LOL. When you're in your 50s, you can't help but think, who the fuck is listening to this kid? Same with AOC today. Listen, people listen to people who are passionate about their ideas. That's what this is. And oftentimes, young people are significantly more passionate about their ideas than older people because they haven't gotten worn out yet. It is extremely hard to maintain like that level of performance as you get older. I say that as someone who is of a certain age, and of course that age is 29, but maybe it's a little bit older than that. And so when people bring passion and conviction to their ideas, they bring that energy. It's like that is compelling. And by the way, that's why AOC is attracting the crowds that she's attracting. That's also, by the way, why Bernie Sanders still attracts crowds, even though he's like extremely old, right? Because Bernie, for all of his faults, and he has many, has never stopped being passionate about his ideas and getting up there and saying, and we will take the millionaires and the billionaires and universal health care and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like every fucking speech. Even now, we watched a speech from Bernie the other day. He's old. He's obviously losing some steam. He's about to retire. That's all fine, well, and good. But Bernie still actually brings that fire. AOC brings that fire. There aren't a lot. I mean, Trump brings that fire, but there aren't a lot of people that aren't on the left that bring that fire and that conviction. And that is what people want, for better or worse. Nick Fuentes brings that fire. That's why people love Nick Fuentes. And that's why I love Nick Fuentes, because he is real and he has conviction in his ideas and he knows what he thinks and he presents it with fire because he's a Leo. Of course, he has to. That is what is compelling about him. Hey, Andre, thank you for the other super chat. I meant to say writing is part of literacy, but I made a typo per my speed. Andre, it happens to me all the time. Hey, I appreciate the other super chat. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, listen, but it is a show, but it's not that it's a show in that it's false. It's a show in that you have to know that when you're in front of a crowd of people, you are performing for that crowd. Now, you can perform from a place of authenticity and bring like, these are my ideas. This is what I think. And I'm going to do that with all the energy I have. You can do that, or you can present a false brand like a lot of people do, right? So it is a show in that no matter, like anytime you're in front, like when I'm on stream, I am performing. Now, I never say anything I don't believe. I never say anything that is not true to my system of values. But like, if you were to have a like, if we were to go out for coffee, like you're going to have a completely different experience with me because I'm not going to be performing for you if we go out to coffee, right? We're just going to talk like normal human beings. I might talk with my hands a lot because I do talk with my hands a lot. And sometimes I actually do slip into performance mode just accidentally because I've been doing this for so long. But like, people need to learn that though, because if we're going to get people on our side, we need to be willing to do what is compelling to people. This is why I'm trying really hard to be nicer to people on my channel. Because I know I scare people away when I'm mean. Now, I also attract people when I'm mean, but I'm scaring away more people I think that I'm attracting. And so I have to adjust my behavior if I want to actually attract more people and get them learning. So I'm taking my own medicine. But we all need to do that. People need to feel comfortable getting up in front of a group of people and doing a performance to teach them these ideas and to get them excited about these ideas and to get them involved. That is what the left does so well.
Really, the social costs of capitalism.
Oh, social cost of capitalism, you don't say.
In the spring of 1906, Goldman revived a dream to publish a magazine devoted to politics and literature. Its high-spirited prose, she wrote, would voice without fear every unpopular cause.
Yeah, Che
She
was
called her new
captivating.
magazine Mother Earth.
Couldn't take your eyes off him.
Goldman, in thinking about making herself into
why not?
A practitioner of
great
arts
idea.
and letters, a woman, an immigrant Jew, was really ahead of her time. The title, Mother Earth, speaks to Goldman's ambitions, but I think also more deeply to her monumental fantasies of herself.
Goldman's Manhattan apartment at 210 East 13th
I want a
Street
typewriter like that
became
so
the
bad.
informal headquarters of her new magazine. It also served as a haven to an extended family of writers, artists, and journalists. Goldman called it the home for lost dogs.
She was an earth mother, a term that's in the 60s really came to mean the bountiful woman at the center of the commune that feeds everybody and makes sure they don't eat too little.
I think it was her sheer force of personality. Plus, she was a very motherly person. I mean, she took care of people. She told them what to do. She told them, you know, how to run their lives. She told them what was needed. She enveloped them.
The circle of friends and associates who congregated in Goldman's apartment would soon be joined by Alexander Berkman. In May 1906, Berkman walked out of the Allegheny County Workhouse. For the first time in 14 years, he was a free man.
When Berkman comes out of prison, finally, he's much more oriented toward trying to achieve anarchism through the labor movement, which he sees great possibilities in.
Communism.
Goldman's orientation is much more for a kind of movement that cuts across class lines, that attracts the middle classes to anarchism.
Her mind has matured, but her wider interests antagonize my old revolutionary traditions. I sense a foreign element in this circle she has gathered about her, and feel myself a stranger among them.
I was a woman of 37. I no longer fitted into the old mold, as he had expected me to. Sasha felt it almost immediately.
And that his release was such a relief in some ways and so much less than what she had hoped it would be. Always a sense in it that she loved him more than he loved her. I don't know if that's fair, but that she carried a torch in a certain sense all the way through, that he mattered to her in a certain way as a man and as a body, that she didn't necessarily matter to him.
Berkman and Goldman briefly attempted to resume their romance, but it was not to be. He assumed day-to-day management of Mother Earth. She returned to the lecture circuit. In the spring of 1908, now 40 years old, Goldman met someone else.
I look
A
like
flamboyant
her. This is
young
freaking
doctor,
me out.
10 years younger than herself. A man of considerable life experience, he was a budding social reformer, a
Wait.
whorehouse physician.
She had a younger boyfriend? I fucking love that, actually. You know what? I fucking love it. I'm not even mad at it. 10-year younger boyfriend?
And a former hobo.
Ben Reitman was a doctor and a hobo. She fell in love with him almost instantly, and it was really a, great magnetic flash between them.
It was another one of those Goldman flashes, like coming to New York and finding what she wanted the very first day. It was apparently love at first sight, or certainly alchemy at first sight.
There is something very American about Reitman because he was
He's
filled with a
handsome.
kind of raw energy. He didn't
Sorry,
give a damn
like,
about what
he's
people thought,
handsome.
and he was a great manager.
Wait.
So,
Why am I attracted to all the men that I swear to God. I really am starting to think I'm like the reincarnation of Emma Goldman, atoning for the sins of communism in this lifetime. I'm going to go to some sort of past lives psychic to see if there's any connection.
so there was a great deal of charm to this creature who was also weak and insecure, and the mama's boy, all the flaws that she recognized as being so truly awful, and yet she loved him. So
good for her. Good for her. What? No, I don't want to see this. No, PBS. No, I don't want to see her tits. No. I had to take off more clothes in those
Ben
days.
was bending over me, his face close to mine, his hands on my chest. Flames were shooting from his fingertips and slowly enveloping my body. I made no attempt to escape them. I strained towards them, craving to be consumed by their fire.
Wow, PBS. PBS naughty.
He was quite a liability. He was compulsively unfaithful to her. He ran around with other women. He humiliated her. He embarrassed her. I think that she had a very idealistic view of how people should act. And then
Look how
feelings
great
didn't
communist
always go
sex was,
along with
guys.
her
Propaganda by
theories.
PBS.
And one of the things that's appealing about her is that she didn't put theories over life, really. She tried to live up to her ideal, but often found that she couldn't do that and was very honest about it.
it was hard to reconcile this particular passage with her stated ideology about free love and the right of everyone to move as they please. And I think she tried to feel no jealousy, and she tried to think of Reitman as a creature apart, and tried to think of him as someone who was hers when they were together on the road. At the same time, she fell prey to the most sentimental, romantic claptrap, same stuff that she denounced in her talks.
For almost a decade, Goldman and Reitman spent nearly half of every year on the road, maintaining a relentless schedule of radical agitation from coast to coast. In one 6-month period, she delivered 120 lectures before 40,000 people in 37 cities.
That's crazy.
With Reitman as her manager, she became one of the most sought-after public speakers in America. Her messages reached beyond the faithful, attracting middle and upper class audiences. Her lectures also drew the attention of police detectives.
There's a kind of aura around her. There's a kind of expectation that something will happen when she comes to town. Wonderful things, hilarious things, horrific things.
I think Emma Goldman frightened, or at the very least puzzled, a lot of people because, first of all, she was a powerful woman and a powerfully built woman, especially as she got older. She put on considerable weight. I mean, she appeared like a tower of concrete up on the platform.
She has something in common, I think, with American tent preachers, with great conmen and hucksters of the
This was
19th
before
century
social
who were
media,
able
guys.
To, sell snake oil to an audience by bringing them to a frenzy.
Yeah. Why are they ruining this music for us? That's a great
Being
question.
in the public sphere is action, is a deed, is a way to transform people, to make them change their lives, change their opinions.
Yeah, that was
She
before
lectured on
planes.
anarchism to Congregationalists in Cleveland,
Non-anarchist
on
communism.
violence to single taxers in Houston, and about sex to lumberjacks in Eureka.
Society considers the sex experiences of a man as attributes of his general development, while similar experiences in the life of a woman are looked upon as a terrible calamity. I intend to speak in Philadelphia. I intend to insist on my right of free speech. If the police stop me, then it is up to them to explain why. As long as I live, I must be a crusader. What I think, what I feel, I must speak. Not for 100, not for 500 years will the principles of anarchy triumph. But what has that to do with it?
She must have tapped into something, some stream running through American society at that time, because she gained converts, if not to anarchism, then to her ideas, especially about free speech, from all classes and from all areas of the country.
Goldman's celebrity status didn't wash with everyone. Her closest comrades criticized her new circle of friends. One worried the movement was becoming too middle class. Instead of organizing the unemployed, he argued, we rent comfortable halls and charge 10 cents admission. Even government agents sent to spy on her understood her appeal. She is womanly, a remarkable orator, tremendously sincere, one wrote in the report. She is doing tremendous damage. At home in New York, unemployed workers, trade unionists, and socialists kept up a daily round of rallies and
Socialists, you say?
demonstrations.
Oh my
One
word,
of
I
the
had no
biggest,
idea.
the revolt of the unemployed, was brutally suppressed. Conflicts between capital and labor escalated. In Lawrence, Massachusetts, striking workers faced the rifle butts of the state militia. At the Standard Oil Company in Bayonne, New Jersey, workers striking for humane treatment on the job and a living wage were shot by hired guards. And in Ludlow, Colorado, striking coal miners and their families were gunned down by the local militia.
It seemed that whatever happened, you could get away with if you were rich. You could do anything. You could kill women and children, and nothing would happen to you. There you go. Tough. And so it just created this desire to strike back.
Anarchists have taught people that violence is justified in the struggle of labor against capital. Labor will ultimately knock the last master off the back of the last slave.
Things were so bad that the radical reaction was in an inverse proportion. The more violent and dangerous life was, the more violent and dangerous the radicals would be. They were always a mirror of disaster, of the ongoing disaster. They were more extreme then, and there was less rueful historical knowledge about the final counterproductive nature of violence.
Goldman's position on violence was never totally clear. She rejected violence intellectually, but always her sympathies went to the motivations of those who committed acts of violence. Violence never has and never will bring constructive results, she wrote. But my mind and my knowledge of life tell me that change will always be violent.
She felt that violence sometimes was necessary because of the implacable opposition of governments and industrialists to workers. Over time, she recognized that almost invariably, however, those acts were counterproductive. You are giving them a sword if you talk about using a sword yourself.
In 1915, Alexander Berkman started a publication of his own. He named his new magazine The Blast. Goldman went back on the road with Ben Reitman, this time to campaign for birth control. This tour would be their most successful ever. It was also quite illegal. Talking about sex and contraceptives in public was a crime.
She sees birth control as a social issue. For her, it was almost a sense of freedom for the woman to have whatever relationships they wanted and whatever life they wanted. It was critical. And it was also critical in terms of social change, of empowering poorer women.
In February 1916, Goldman was arrested in New York and sentenced to 15 days in the workhouse. 10 months later, Reitman was arrested. He received a 6-month sentence, the longest sentence served in the United States by a birth control advocate.
By a birth control advocate.
After his release, Reitman confessed he'd fallen in love with a young woman he'd met in New York 2 years before. I had been seduced by an ordinary man's desire for a home, a wife, and a child, he wrote. His love affair with Goldman was over. In 1917, Ben Reitman and Anna Martindale were married. Goldman was stunned.
I felt unutterably weary, possessed only of a desire to get away somewhere and forget the failure of my personal life, to forget even the cruel urge to struggle for an ideal.
Between the summer of 1916 and the spring of 1917, the mood of the country darkened. The war in Europe was dragging into its 3rd year, a year of military stalemates, trench warfare, and mud. When America entered World War I in April 1917, Goldman saw it as a disaster.
You cannot support any country in war when innocent, as she would see it, men would be slaughtered. Innocent families would have brothers, husbands taken away from them and slaughtered. No, you can't do that. That's the basis of your anarchism.
The idea of nationalism appalled her. She thought nationalism was a big scam.
Nationalism is bad. Who would have thunk it? A communist doesn't like nationalism?
Property interests of of the upper classes that were sending the.
Did you guys just hear that? Emma Goldman was against nationalism and thought that war was about the propertied interests of the upper class. I mean, it kind of is, but she thinks it for different reasons than we do.
Her point of view was that these wars were a matter of property interests of the upper classes that were sending the working classes out to fight for them. And that didn't make sense for a butcher's assistant in Hamburg to fight a butcher's assistant in London.
That is actually true.
Goldman was far from alone in her opposition to the war. Dozens of organizations throughout the country had argued the war was morally wrong.
The First World War was marked by the insecurity of the administration. I mean, this is an administration that promised not to enter the war. And once it decided otherwise, it became very, very defensive, insecure, and therefore insisted on consensus by any means.
We're not a liberal society when we go to war. During the Civil War, we weren't. Abraham Lincoln, one of our great presidents, arrested hundreds of people who wrote against the war. And during the First World War, it became one. I mean, there was a combination of vigilantism and official repression.
In June, the Espionage Act went into effect. It decreed stiff fines and prison terms for anyone who obstructed the draft. A year later, the sedition law threatened those who defied the government with expulsion. J. Edgar Hoover, a 23-year-old law clerk enjoying a meteoric rise in the Justice Department, collected information on foreign-born radicals. Hoover was anxious to bring what he called intellectual perverts, like war resistors and anarchists, to justice. He reserved a special loathing for Goldman. Once again, Emma Goldman and Alexander Berkman joined forces to organize resistance. Their lectures drew large, contentious crowds. In May 1917, they launched the No Conscription League. It opposed all wars waged by capitalist governments.
Oh, yeah? Capitalist government, you say?
We believe that the militarization of America is an evil that far outweighs any good that may come from America's participation in the war.
So America had a
We
capitalist
will resist
government.
conscription by every means in our power.
In its short life, the League organized three.
It is amazing to me. It is amazing to me how long communists have been saying America has a capitalist government, the capitalist government, the capitalist government, the capitalist government. When they're calling them anarchists, it's because they want to overthrow the capitalist state. It's not because they don't want some system of governance. It's because they want to overthrow the capitalist government. They've been saying this since the beginning, and it's like no one has an understanding of what they're talking about. They believe America is a capitalist country, an imperialist country. In fact, that's what the wars are about. It's about private property ownership. They believe the USS Constitution is a capitalist constitution. That's why they want to overthrow the government, because they're trying to overthrow. It's like, it's so obvious once you understand what they're saying, but if you don't know what language to look for, it just goes.
Protest rallies. 8,000 people attended the first meeting in Harlem.
Those meetings are crackling with tension. By the time those speakers get onto that stage, there are catcalls, there are shouting, and there is an electric feel.
This guy ruled. Oh! Hello,
There's 5,000,
Russia.
6,000, 10,000 people outside some of these meetings, singing the International Army, shouting insults and trading insults with those supporters of the war. It's an electric atmosphere.
The way in which Goldman and Berkman faced the war fury of 1917, said a friend, was the most stirring manifestation of sheer physical courage I have ever seen. But to the government, America's most famous anarchists had to be stopped.
Communists, not anarchists, communists.
Free speech is always at risk, and one of her great contributions
See,
is
even
really
a
to have
badass
pushed
when
it
she got
as
older.
far
Look at
as
her.
it did go. She used it a bit like a toy to see what she could do with it before it broke. And then it did break in her hands.
On the afternoon of June 15th, a federal marshal and his deputies bounded up the stairs of Goldman's East 125th Street address and ransacked the place.
I'm working on a shawl. It's a black and white shawl with red. I'm not in a good place to show this, but it looks cool. I'm knitting in a circle, which is why it's not a good place to show what it is.
A wagon load of Goldman's papers, including what one detective called a splendidly kept card index of reds, the subscription list of Mother Earth. Goldman and Berkman were charged with conspiracy to violate the Draft Act, a federal offense. At trial, Goldman pointed out the contradictions between fighting for freedom and liberty abroad and suppressing them at home. If America had entered the war to make the world safe for democracy, Goldman insisted, she must first make democracy safe in America. After 39 minutes of deliberation, the jury announced a verdict: guilty. Goldman and Berkman spent 22 months behind bars, much of it tracking events in Russia. The Great October of 1917 had ended 3 centuries of Romanov rule virtually overnight. It was the culmination of a dream by both anarchists and Marxists, and a time to place partisan rivalries
Communists,
aside.
not anarchists.
Goldman and Berkman put their trust in the Bolsheviks.
There was great hope that the Russian experience will lead to this future idealistic kind of society that she was hoping for. From the vantage point of 1919, that seemed quite feasible. At last, the great moment arrived.
Russia has started something that could leak into this country, that could take hold of this country and make it another communist socialist country. And the people that we must target must be those who support the Russian Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution. And they did.
Throughout the autumn of 1919, Attorney General A. Mitchell Palmer directed roundups of radicals in what would come to be known as the Palmer Raids. Thousands of arrests were made without warrants. Those arrested were held for weeks without bail, without access to counsel, even without notification of their families. Before it was all over, an FBI official declared, "I believe that with these raids, the backbone of the radical movement in America is broken."
The government wanted people like Goldman and Berkman out of the country because they could be catalysts for what was seen as a potentially disruptive, reinvigorated labor movement. And it's completely impossible to understand that separate from this Red Scare. They went hand in hand.
On September 27, 1919, America's most famous anarchists walked out of prison. Berkman soon followed. To Goldman, the America she greeted upon release reminded her of the czarist tyranny she had fled at the age of 16. By December 5th, Goldman and Berkman were prisoners again, this time at Ellis Island. They had already been served warrants for their deportation.
She knows she's going to be deported. She believes it. Just like she knew that there was going to be hard, bad times as World War I creaked into motion. She also knew that she was going to be deported. There's no question of that. She knew it, and she expects to go.
From her cell, Goldman wrote a friend how strange it was for one who'd lived and worked in the United States for more than half her life to be thrown out of the country for mere opinion's sake.
Their mad rush in getting us out of the country is the greatest proof to me that I have served the cause of humanity, that I have never wavered or compromised.
She
Oh,
went
yeah?
with quite a bit
That's
of
pretty
bravado. It was very, very tough. She had been living here for over 30 years. She was an American. To be kicked out like that.
She was not an American, actually.
Was a tremendous
She literally
shock.
was not an American. Hang on. Yes, I think PBS purposefully keeps calling them then anarchists instead of communists because they don't want they've even used the term like they're anarchists and socialists. No shit. It's the same thing. It's like this is what this is a piece of like propaganda to make Emma Goldman seem like awesome so that more people emulate Emma Goldman. Like she was just this passionate woman who was before her time, who was going around the country rallying people to this glorious cause of anarchism. But it's like, no, what she was doing was rallying people to communism. Communism. Say fucking communism. Because that's what it is. And I think the part where, why I say this specifically is the part where they quoted Karl Marx directly, but didn't say it was Karl Marx. I'm like, there's no reason to do that. You literally quoted the Communist Manifesto. Say where that comes from.
Early in the morning of December 21st, Emma Goldman, Alexander Berkman, and 247 other immigrant detainees were suddenly awakened and told to prepare for departure. Searchlights swept the island as they were hurried down a long corridor. At 4 a.m., the deportees were loaded onto barges that ferried them to the SS Beaufort.
One does not live in a country 34 years and find it easy to go. All the turmoil of body and soul, all the love and hate that come to an intense human being have come to me here. I have helped to sow the seeds and hope to see their fruition, even if I will be too far away to participate in the harvest.
As
Make
the Beaufort
deporting
slipped from her
communists
berth,
great again.
a group
I'm
of
gonna tweet
newspaper
that.
reporters and congressmen cheered. With prohibition coming in and Emma Goldman going out, one of them quipped, "'Twill be a dull country." On January 19, 1920, after crossing Finland in sealed railroad cars, Goldman, Berkman, and the other deportees reached Soviet Russia.
It seems like a great period of freedom and liberation and hope that the world will be different. If Russia can change, if Russia can democratize, if Russia can give hope to people, then there's hope for any country in the world. And this is at the end of 3.5 years of a very devastating world war, a bloodbath of a world war.
But what they found was devastation.
When she got to Petrograd, I think she found the city to be a total surprise. And I think that part of the problem, before we can even talk about the political situation, is the fact that she was American. She had become American.
She was not an American.
She had become used to a certain way of thinking,
Well,
a certain way of being.
That might be, but
the economic conditions there were just absolutely devastating. People were dying of hunger. There was famine. There was disease. Russia had been propelled back into the, medieval period practically by the destruction of the war.
Horses lay in the street dead because there was nothing to feed them. Rubbish began to collect in the cities because nobody could be dragooned into clearing them.
dragooned. What a good word.
One could almost say that the rats were the only thing left to eat.
Faced with growing unrest, the Bolsheviks cracked down hard on dissent. Goldman soon confided her disillusionment to a friend who was close to Lenin. Suppression? Persecution? Goldman wrote. Was it for this the revolution had been fought? Her friend arranged for Goldman and Berkman to meet Lenin.
Lenin sat behind a huge desk. We were treated to a volley of questions. When could the social revolution be expected in America? Was the rank and file a fertile soil for boring from within? What about the IWW?
And they argue for free speech. What about free speech? And he looks on them and he treats them rather like adolescents who are learning, about life. And he says, look, that's a very bourgeois notion, he says, roughly. Here we are, surrounded.
Lenin told Emma Goldman that free speech is a bourgeois notion. Isn't that interesting?
Adolescents who are learning, about life. And he says, look, that's a very bourgeois notion, he says, roughly. Here we are, surrounded by enemies on all sides. What do you mean, free speech? The white Russians are attacking us. We've got traitors inside. We've got collaborators inside. We've got all sorts of people operating in this country. What do you mean, free speech? You can't have free speech in this revolutionary situation.
I think ultimately she's probably an enlightened fool, in that she intellectualized a revolution she didn't really understand.
So true.
And projected onto Russia her own hopes of liberation, hopes which I suppose were rooted in her own personal trajectories. And that was a pretty foolish thing to do.
For Goldman and Berkman, the decisive moment came on March 16, 1921. That night, the Bolsheviks attacked Kronstadt, a naval base near Petrograd, and the last bastion of anarchist dissent.
Then to hear the cannon suppress the very people who had brought it about, destroy the idea of democracy that they still, until that moment, had hoped might emerge in the revolution. To hear that, to feel it crushed, must, to a certain extent, have destroyed something in themselves.
I think Russia shattered that. That was something very close to her core, to who she was. So clearly this was no place for Goldman. There's no place for Berkman. This was not a place for any kind of joy, leave alone a place for any kind of dissent. This was a place where vodka very quickly became a palliative for pain and not an occasion for dancing.
In December 1921, after 2 years, Emma Goldman and Alexander Berkman left Russia. They vowed to tell the rest of the world of the Bolshevik terror.
She does something that many of us find damned hard to do. She realizes she's been a fool.
Wow.
She realizes she's been wrong. She's realized she's made an error. Not just a casual error, but an error.
Do I actually need to put Emma Goldman on a t-shirt? Like, is Emma Goldman like the only fucking communist like activist in history that is woken up and was like, oh shit, I made a horrible fucking mistake? Does that actually need to happen? This is more evidence that I'm like the reincarnated Emma Goldman. This is like, I am doing the penance for fucking Emma Goldman. That's crazy, but also kind of awesome, actually. There is hope. Let's just rewind and listen to that again. See, okay, so I was wondering though, because I was like, why the fuck did Malice put this woman, like, why is this woman a white pill? I didn't realize she denounced communism later. Wow. Okay.
Emma Goldman and Alexander Berkman left Russia. They vowed to tell the rest of the world of the Bolshevik terror.
She does something that many of us find damned hard to do. She realizes she's been a fool. She realizes she's been wrong. She's realized she's made an error. Not just
she
a
is my
casual
spirit
error,
animal. She's
but an
literally
error
my spirit
of
animal.
Huge, awful.
She's literally my fucking
magnitude
spirit animal. She
to support
left the left.
Bolshevism.
Are you fucking shitting me?
And she turns and she accepts that. She accepts it totally.
Revealing the truth about
something
the
like
Bolshevik
that.
regime became a crusade for Goldman and Berkman.
What?
Their old enemies on the right praised their analysis of a revolution gone wrong. Old comrades on the left condemned them.
So there must have been a sense of frustration. You know, hell, we've seen it, but we can't convince people of how it really is. And we can't uphold any real belief in socialism anymore.
She's literally me, guys. Emma Goldman fucking I truly had no idea that Emma Goldman left. I had never looked into her because I knew she was a communist, so I was like, oh, whatever, I'll learn about. She's literally me. This is crazy. This is actually fucking crazy. Emma Goldman is now my spirit animal. I'm going to put Emma Goldman on several t-shirts. She is the icon for our community. It was literally my destiny to watch this fucking documentary. Wow. See, it took a woman. It took a woman with a boss fucking bitch attitude who didn't give a fuck. Oh my God, I cannot believe this is the outcome of tonight. I really didn't expect this at all. Yeah, I'm going to make an Emma Goldman emoji for the chat. This is true. We need to find a medium and we need to get that medium to channel Emma Goldman for us. And we need to have a conversation. I'm going to be like, Emma, I actually think I'm you reincarnated in this life because I look exactly fucking like you. And if I wore my hair and got your little spectacles that sit on the nose and put on a 1920s outfit, I'm going to look exactly like Emma Goldman. And then to find out she was like this leftist fucking activist that ended up leaving the left and then campaigning against the left. I seriously am starting to believe that I'm the reincarnation of Emma Goldman. I'm not even joking.
And that's a very tragic situation to be in, I think. When you both lose everything you believe in, and yet
I was once Jewish. It's true. I was.
And so she found herself once again in no man's land. So by her own hand, in fact, she sent herself into an intellectual exile as well. So she was a specialist of
And she sent herself
exile.
into intellectual exile. So fucking real. So real. So real.
For years, Goldman lived with old friends in England, Canada, and France.
Hey, hang on. Let's do a shout out for Glomez. I ordered your Communist Manifesto, a revolutionary fairy tale. It gets to you on Tuesday. Everyone should go order this on Amazon. It's a really good book. Leave a review if you've read it and you haven't left a review yet. It's a dystopian fairy tale based on the Communist Manifesto. I don't hate the Jews, Trendlin. I love the Jews. I love the Jews with all my heart. I wish the Jews nothing of the best. We never want to repeat the horror that was the Holocaust, which was totally real and definitely happened. And at least 10 million Jews died in the Holocaust, and Hitler was the worst person to ever lived. And Jews have amazing bagels. And we love Jews on this channel. There's no anti-Semitism allowed.
Then in the spring of 1927, she received a cable from the American arts patron Peggy Guggenheim. A group of friends had raised funds to buy her a cottage in Saint-Tropez, a then obscure fishing village on the French Riviera. There, she could live and work.
I want a cottage in Saint-Tropez. Can someone raise money
Berkman
for
named
me?
it Bon Esprit. At Bon Esprit, Goldman generated a mountain of correspondence with old friends. Her letters were filled with restless energy and longing for the United States. You may as well know once and for all, she had written a comrade, that I will never be able to free myself from the hold America has on me.
That's where she had her own sense of who she was most developed when she was in America. And let's be quite frank, it's also where she had the adoring audiences and where she felt she could do something. If you're a political activist, sitting in a little hill on a hillside cottage in Saint-Tropez without the glamour that we associate with it now, where you can actually effect hardly anything, it is hell.
After nearly 40 years in the public eye, Goldman was welcome nowhere. Berkman shared her despair.
I am literally
The truth
her.
is, he wrote, our movement has accomplished nothing.
Oh, God.
The bond between Emma and Sasha grew stronger during their years of exile, even though they lived apart. He was now in desperately poor health.
There is not much to congratulate
I even married
oneself
a
on,
Ukrainian that
is
speaks
there?
Russian. Come on.
Except that after all these years, our old friendship has remained unchanged. And indeed stronger and more understanding and intimate than ever. And that is a very great deal.
They were comrades. And they were comrades, and comrades is a word we don't use anymore now, except mockingly, maybe.
Oh, no, they
Or
still
half
use
in
it.
jest
Oh,
or
no.
cynically.
They still
But
use it. I
they
promise
were
you.
comrades.
Historian.
Their relationship was bigger than disagreement, bigger than sexual relationships, bigger than emotional entanglements. It was somehow all of those and more. And they were bound together. Emma says of him in 1928, he was a leitmotif of her life.
My dear, whom else should I write on this day but you? Only there was nothing to tell. I keep thinking, what a long time to live. For whom? For what? But there is no answer. One thing, I can still find relief in housework and cooking. Let me hear from you how you are, Sasha dear. Affectionately, Emma. P.S. Do you want me to send you the Manchester Guardian and the Times Literary Supplement? Let me know. E.
He never got her letter. In the middle of the night on June 28, 1936, Goldman received a telephone call from Nice, imploring her to come at once. Arriving in Sasha's apartment, Goldman learned that he had shot himself in the chest. He died that night.
Wow.
This great center force of her life has gone. I think it must have been, in her life, the most devastating personal loss she ever had. I don't think that, I know that.
2 months after Berkman's death, friends came to see Goldman in Saint-Tropez. They found her distraught, even, they thought, on the verge of a nervous breakdown. One friend saw her walking alone in the garden at Bon Esprit, calling out softly, "Sasha, where are you?" With the loss of Sasha Berkman, Goldman wrote that the largest part of her life had followed him to his grave. During 2 decades of exile, she returned to the United States only once, following the publication of her 1,000-page autobiography. Throughout her visit, the 64-year-old activist was dogged by the FBI. Even so, she lamented at the end of her stay, she would have returned to America if she'd had the choice. Emma Goldman spent the last few months of her life in Canada. On February 17, 1940, she'd been sitting with 2 friends, laughing and talking, playing bridge. Suddenly, she collapsed in her chair.
She suffers a stroke. An ambulance is called, friends arrive, and one of them, Arne Thorne, remembers her on a stretcher being taken out, and the only gesture she could manage was to pull her skirt down over her knee.
To be silenced and to lay there unable to speak. And no one else could do that to her. Not a government in the world could do that to her, you know. Not a government in the world could. And she must lay there. I think it's unbearably sad.
On May 14, 1940, Emma Goldman died. Denied entry into the United States for so many years, she was finally permitted, in death, to cross the border. She was buried in Chicago's Waldheim Cemetery, near the graves of the Haymarket martyrs.
No kidding. No kidding.
She raised people's consciousness. She transformed people's thinking. She made them ask questions. She made them question their own lives and their political assumptions. And she spoke back to power.
Emma Goldman is recognizable to me because of the attitude, the chutzpah, the sense of humor, the energy, which is always boundless, and also her soulfulness, which is so very Russian. Her ability to dive into great emotions, but also to emerge out of them. There's something comforting about this persona. There's something reliable about Emma Goldman.
It's hard to imagine how the human heart can sustain that level of passion and intense concentration on the possibility of change that becomes, their heartbeat. We're so sort of stuck in the gray middle, and you read her, and she lived her life on fire. And something utterly thrilling about that.
If we look at everything that she did, the fight for free speech, the fight for women to have control over their bodies, the fight against state intrusion in our life, the fight against totalitarianism, becoming the nettle of our conscience. She didn't do it for wealth. She didn't do it for money. She didn't do it for personal gain. She did it for all of us. And she's awkward, and she's ornery, and she's a pain.
That's it. That was a rough end to that documentary. Wow. 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 I'm in shock. I'm like literally in shock at how that turned out. I really had no idea. I had no idea she turned into an anti-communist and was like, oh shit, all my ideas were fucked up. What a boss bitch, man. What a boss bitch. That was wild. It was. What other videos do they have on her? If I can't dance, it's not my revolution. Wow. Am I gonna have to watch more videos about Emma Goldman now that I'm fairly certain I'm her reincarnated soul? I want to watch all these documentaries right now. But I also don't want to continue the stream because it's just been a long day. It's just been a long day. Maybe we'll do some more Emma Goldman documentaries. I want to hear more about what she said about communism after she realized it was bullshit. I definitely want to put her on a t-shirt. I mean, listen, you just can't. You can't dispute the badassness of it all. You just really can't. I love it. That was a great Socialism Saturday. I'm really pleased with this. That was awesome. That was actually rather invigorating. That was rather inspiring, honestly. Did everyone else enjoy that? I had a good time. Now, as a reminder, guys, I do not stream on Sundays because I actually try to take a day off and, do other stuff that's not streaming. So I will not be streaming tomorrow, but we will be gathering together on May the 4th for movie night in the supporter Discord. And Jennifer, who is the host of movie nights on Sundays, is so excited because we are watching Return of the Jedi tomorrow for May the 4th in the supporter Discord. So if you're a supporter and you've never been to a movie night before, I definitely recommend get into movie night, get into the Discord, come and join us for the movie night. The movie nights are great. We do music related to the movies. We do trivia related. You get to meet other people in the community. So that will be at 8 p.m. How you get access to the Discord is you go over to my Substack, which is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. And tomorrow, I have to find it. Tomorrow, I will be sending out an email that looks like this. This is my weekly newsletter from the Discord. So it's the weekly newsletter where I talk about all the content I've created. I show you guys things that you may not have seen because I create a lot of stuff. So every Sunday night, I do kind of like a little wrap up with here's the stuff I created for you this week. That's called the digest. That comes out via the Substack. And if you want to join the Discord, what you do is you scroll all the way down to the bottom and you look and you make sure you know all the content I created for you and what's up, and you just scroll all the way down to the bottom of the email. And sometimes there's more content than others. And underneath this red box, when you are a supporter in the Substack, that red box isn't going to be there. What's going to be there is a list of supporter perks. That includes it usually includes the Zoom information. We're not going to do the Zoom on Monday because we're doing Spy Stream instead. It will include the Discord. It will include a discount code in the Unwoke Art Store. And all your supporter perks are in the weekly email. So that's where you want to go. So get the link to the Discord, come join the Discord. And then you can come join us for movie night tomorrow night at 8 p.m. where we're watching Return of the Jedi. Also, Mac B hosts a movie night on Monday night. And I forget exactly what Mac B is watching on Monday night, but he picks out a really eclectic choice of movies. And so I definitely recommend people check out his movie night. You can find out more information in the Discord, and his movie will be in there. Yeah, actually, I did know this. Red Emma's they host a ton of communist talks at Red Emma's in Baltimore. They stream a lot of their communist talks, and This is part of why I'm shocked that Emma Goldman turned out to be an anti-communist at the very end, because I knew about Red Emmas, and I was like, they host all these communist talks. We've watched Red Emmas many times, but no, she was a communist. She was a communist that rethought her mistakes in later years. Anyway, guys, if you want to join us for movie night, that will be in the digest email tomorrow. And of course, make sure you're supporting the work on the Substack. I've got a lot of clips coming out next week. Lots of new stuff coming. And thank you guys for hitting the super chat goal tonight. And is there anything else I have to say before we wrap up? I don't think so. Good Socialism Saturday, guys. I will be back on Monday at 5 p.m. We also have a spy stream on Monday. So spy stream is going to start around 6:30. So we are, if you're a member of the Substack or a member of my locals or my Patreon or a YouTube channel member or a Twitter subscriber, you will get access to our spy stream that we're doing on Monday. And that's all she wrote. I'm taking the rest of the weekend off. I will see you guys on Monday. Have a good one. Take care. We'll see you soon.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here? 3 months, May 17th. And what brought you here? That's difficult to answer. piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.